Hey guys, welcome back to the Atreyu Locs channel. Hi, I'm Atreyu, a Semi Freeformer who is dedicated to bringing you the best tips to grow a healthy set of locks. If this is your first time, make yourself comfortable. I am glad to have you. Last week's video, I was dishing out a lot of tough love for those of you who have locks, are earlier in your journey, and just want long, beautiful locks, right? Or for those of you who don't have long locks but want long, beautiful locks. This week's video, I am going to be showing a little bit of support, emotional support, because I remember there being times in my lock journey when I felt a bit discouraged with how my locks were looking, how my locks were doing, what my locks were going to become one day, if they were ever going to become what I envisioned for them, and things like that. So the energy and mood of today's video will be different than last week's. Last week you got the tongue lashing. Today you're gonna get a nice big hug. So I'm making this video on Christmas Eve. It is Friday the 24th. I'm like, do I really have to think about the date? Even if I don't know the date offhand, I just said it's Christmas Eve, so Atreyu, you know the date. So for those of you who do celebrate Christmas, Christmas Eve and Merry Christmas to you. I like to celebrate a lot of the holidays as just times to come together with the family and just loved ones. So that's kind of how I derive benefit from holidays that I don't necessarily celebrate. So if you do celebrate the holiday, Merry Christmas. If you don't, it's okay. Just greetings to you. A greeting should never be received as an insult, in my opinion, and my humble opinion. All right, I have digressed, so let me get back on track. So yeah, there are a lot of you who are earlier in your lock journey and you're feeling discouraged. Maybe you have passed that 1 year mark. You got to that 1 year mark, you know, that was like your initial goal, and you're like, okay, I made it, I've arrived. And then you are now 1 year and 1 day into your lock journey, and you're like, okay, what do I do now? You know? Most likely, even if your locks have some length at that 1 year mark, they're definitely not to your goal length. And so like the next year or even two, that was kind of how it was for me, those are just really tough years because you hit that one milestone, but you don't really get to that next one for like a year or two later. So I am here to just remind you to stick with it, because yeah, it is a process, it is a journey, and it is a quest in my case. And this process, this journey, this quest is more, it's about more than just having long locks, right? It's about how locks make you feel. It's about, if you believe in the energy, you know, the types of energy or the type of energy that your locks hold. If you are a dude and you are looking for your locks to you know, attract more girls, it's about that new swag that you derive just from having locks. Not having long locks, right? But from having locks. It's a statement for those of you who are, you know, more, how shall we say, combative or more rebellious, shall we say, in nature. You know, you march to the beat of your own drum, or you do things just for the sake of not being a sheep and doing it because everybody else does it. Then yeah, let your shorter locks, your locks that are not yet to your goal length, make that statement. Like, they don't need to be a certain length to make a statement or for you to derive the benefits that you are looking to derive from them. Having locks is enough. So that's the first thing. Take advantage of the fact that you have locks right now, regardless of how long they are or short they are, regardless of how mature or immature they are. Take advantage of the fact that you have locks right now. Take advantage of the fact that you are on this journey right now and make the most of it. You don't have to wait. You really don't have to wait. You don't have to wait to arrive at a certain evasive destination. Hey, if you are enjoying this video, don't forget to smash the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so that you are notified every single time I upload. How about that? Because here's a well-kept secret. It's never what you imagine it's gonna be. Even now that I have long locks, it's still not what I envisioned. And that's not to say that I am not ecstatic and over the world and completely in love with my locks, but they're still not necessarily what I envisioned, and that's okay. The next thing, which is, this is a perfect segue, is you have to learn to love what you have. I just said that you're going to, envision your locks at a certain length or looking a certain way, being a certain thickness, maybe all being congruent, the same size, looking exactly the same, maybe not a flat lock in sight. All these different things you're gonna envision and you're gonna not only want but expect from your locks. But you have to still be able to love your locks even when they don't turn out like that. It's kind of like if you have a kid, right? Like before you have the child, you have all these different, preconceived notions about how the child is gonna be and what they're gonna look like, what they're gonna do, like their life path, their career path, things like that. But what happens when they exist and the life that you envisioned for them does not actually materialize? What if they take a completely unexpected path? Do you not love them? Do you stop loving them? I would say that a good parent will still love their child. And so in that way, because we think about ourselves nurturing our locks, we need to love our locks regardless of how they look and how they turn out, because they are worthy of love. They are a part of us. They have grown from our body. How can you not love that? You've been taking care of them for, however long or short amount of time, but the point is you've shown them love by being nurturing to them, by even worrying about them constantly, even by looking into the mirror repeatedly, obsessing over them. Now, you shouldn't obsess, right? But I can understand it. And so in that way you have already displayed love for them. And what, you're just gonna hate them now because they don't look exactly how you expected them to? Of course not. You wouldn't do that to your child if you're a good parent, and you shouldn't do that to your locks because they are a part of you. And essentially you hating your hair is you hating yourself, or a part of yourself, because you've grown these things. They've come from your scalp. They've come from the processes in your body. They've come as a result of the things that you put in your body, the water and the food, the nourishment. So that would be the second thing, learn to love your locks. I talk about unconditional love all the time. I know some of you understand it and get my message and agree with it. I know there are others of you who find that a really difficult sentiment to absorb and practice, especially because most likely you've been hurt really badly by people in the past. Yeah, everybody has. I have too, right? But I think it's still worth loving unconditionally. I think it helps you more than you even realize. It frees you from the weight of not loving unconditionally. And one of the reasons that I also preach unconditional love is because I think you should have that unconditional love with respect to your locks too, with respect to these things that you're growing, that are growing out of your scalp, it doesn't get much more intimate than the hair that's growing from your body, wouldn't you say? You spend so much time thinking about your hair and doing your hair, especially if you're not a semi freeformer or a freeformer. So how can you not love it unconditionally? It seems like that would be the default, but for many it's not, because you don't think about it like that, right? You don't personify your hair. You don't see your hair as being a natural extension of yourself, as part of yourself. And so a lot of you can just easily discard it. I don't like, I'm gonna start over, or I don't like, I'm gonna cut them off, or I'll grow some more. But yeah, if it was once again a real person, you would never, if a couple, God forbid, lost their child, they would never, be like, all right, let's immediately have another one. We'll just replace that one with it, you wouldn't. And so I just kind of encourage you guys to learn to love your hair, because it's a part of you, and ultimately that is you loving yourself. The third thing that I wanted to speak about in today's video, as I give you this virtual hug, is I wanted to convey to you that my locks are not perfect, you guys. Many of you who have been around for a while, you have seen my locks, in the earlier years, and you know that they're not perfect. I mean, they're nice and they're long, and looking at my locks, if you're just some random passerby and I'm walking down the street with my locks down and out, you wouldn't notice things and you wouldn't know the stories and the hardship that I've had with them. But because of my persistence, I've gotten them to a much healthier place. But before I knew that my hair grew away from my locks, like, I had so much trouble, just preventing them from thinning out. I had to combine, as you see here, 3 different times, right? And then even that started to thin out. And then I put some beard hair on it, and that helped a lot. And then I still need to put more beard hair because there's, that's how thin it was at one point before I added the beard hair. And the beard hair spread it down and it spread it above there. So I need to go back and fill that in. And then I could even work to kind of connect the beard hair with the regular lock, okay? So like, if I held it here, it would look really, bad or not good. It's like, oh, that's gonna break off even though it's not. Or if I held it here, same thing, But then I got my locks on track. I started using the braid technique and it's been growing thick ever since. And in fact, it just gets thicker and thicker, This is one of my biggest locks to date. And so that is something that I wanted to convey to you. My locks are not perfect, and I don't believe anyone's locks are perfect. I do not believe there is a person with a perfect set of locks. But I say that locks are perfect despite their imperfection. In fact, it might be their imperfection that makes them perfect. That's kind of how I see it. Like, I don't love this lock any less just because it had trouble in the beginning. If anything, I love it more because it made it through all of that to become this big bad boy right here now, Like, it endured, it persevered. I persevered and it persevered, I've never lost a lock to this day. And it's because I didn't give up on my locks, and they were receptive and they didn't give up either. Also, I still have hair that grows away from my locks, and the top of my head it's thinner in terms of like the density of hair than the rest of my head, and it's probably genetic. Would I like for my top of my head to be super full, like you see a lot of people? Well, yeah, of course. But because it's not, it doesn't make me love my locks any less. And in fact, I'm able to see like benefits from my hair being thinner up here. I can wear caps more easily. Like, if I had like huge fro, thick hair that came up here, it'd be harder to put on caps. But I'm able to put them on much more easily. It fits nice and comfortable and flat against the top of my head, which is the way you want a hat to fit, especially like if it's a cap, not a tam. And I work with it. It's easier to put my hair up in the satin bonnet before I put on my tams because I'm not working with as much volume and thickness up there. So if you learn to work with what you have, if you learn to love what you have, you'll find out that, even though you might have envisioned your locks being a certain way, there are still benefits to what you have. You just have to learn to work with it. And if you love your locks, which is loving yourself, then you will find those benefits. You will discover those benefits. Someone years ago made a video, I don't know if it was Keisha Charmaine or someone else, or maybe Keisha Charmaine and someone else, but they showed a close-up of their locks to show the imperfections because people were putting them up on a pedestal and they're like, hey, yeah, I love my locks too, but they're not perfect, I have problems too. And watching that video, it really helped me, especially when I was struggling with my locks thinning out before I knew I had hair that grew away from my lock. And I learned about the braid technique from Yanni the lockologist. And so, I was feeling discouraged, like, why can't I grow my locks like I'm, right? I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. I've watched pretty much every lock video On YouTube, I didn't, but I watched a lot, and it's like they're still not. It's not coming out right. Like, why aren't they coming out right? But for that LocTuber or those LocTubers to kind of humble themselves and put themselves on my level to show me that, hey, this is how it really is, that really helped me. And so that's what I wanted to do for you guys today, by just delivering this message to you and by showing you that, yeah, I have long, beautiful locks. I do. I'm not gonna lie about that, and I'm proud of my locks and I love them, but they're not perfect, and I'm okay with that. And so I suggest that you learn to be okay with whatever set of locks you have as well. If you choose to love, do so unconditionally, because loving with conditions the heart to not really love at all. This is Atreyu Locs. Merry Christmas if you celebrate it. Happy holidays if you don't. And I will see you next week. Peace.